This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by JobSite. JobSite is the platform built by contractors for contractors. With JobSite, you'll know exactly where your money is going, keep your team aligned, and finally get control of your jobs all in one program. Stop losing money on projects and start running your business with confidence. Book your demo today at jobsite.com. Hey Restorers, welcome to this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Dan Claps and John Ortega. They are with Voda. Dan is the CEO and John is the general manager. Probably some familiar faces, John especially. And Voda is kind of taking names in the industry and making some big strides. They just had their first convention as a franchise network of companies, and I'm excited to learn more. This is a conversation that John and I have been talking about having for quite a while, and I've wanted to learn more about Voda, so I am in it for this conversation as well. So gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Dan, I'm going to toss it over to you first to kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background.
Sure. And, thanks again, Michelle, for having us. We're very excited. I'm a listener of your podcast and very fortunate to have the opportunity to speak with your audience and with yourself. My name is Dan Claps, CEO of Voda Cleaning and Restoration. My background is a little bit unique in this space. I think it also gives me a different lens in running our company. I've been in the franchise industry for now 12 years. I started in the franchise industry pretty much in my early 20s. I've always been an entrepreneur. I was doing things in high school, lemonade stands in elementary school, selling lacrosse balls to teammates, really anything where I could create a business out of nothing. I was always fascinated when I made money from an idea. And I remember even when I was probably 14 with my first job, if I could make the money I made in the job, I actually made more money than my business ideas. But the idea that I created the business out of nothing always fascinated me. Mm. So when I got to college, I started a staffing and recruiting business. It was really more of a side hustle turned into a business. And when I was in my early 20s, I started looking at what I should do next. And what I learned was that I didn't have a business. There weren't systems and a team. The business depended on me. And so I learned that not only could I not sell that business, I probably couldn't even pay someone to take it. They didn't want it. It was a job that no one would want.
Yep.
And so in 2014, I started looking at franchise opportunities in the home services space. Fell in love with home services. When I was in high school, I sold Kirby vacuums for a bit, those door-to-door cleaners. And so I knew that home services was all about, building a better mousetrap. And that Kirby training is probably, in my opinion, some of the best training you can get for sales.
I've heard that before. Keep going. Bravo. All of these things, I'm like, I would die. So keep going.
Yeah. I always encourage anyone starting out as an entrepreneur, especially if they're young, in their teenage years, learning how to door knock is an invaluable skill that you never lose. But anyway, I was looking at franchise opportunities back in 2014. At that time was a bit undercapitalized to really do anything in the home services space. And so I actually joined a franchise called Murphy Business and Financial. I was a business broker on the Main Street in New Jersey, where I'm from originally. And after a couple of years doing that, I really loved what I was doing, but I was the business, right? It was me answering the phones and doing everything, and there was no scale. So I started thinking about what I could do next. My background, I was really strong and interested in lead generation. So I started a lead generation company in 2016 in the franchise space, scaled that company to a bit over 100 employees and contractors, doing several million in revenue and profits. And we were able to sell that business in 2022 to a private equity firm. Took about 2 weeks off, don't know how to sit still, and started looking at what to do next. Yeah, explored the franchise landscape, the home services industry, and just fell in love with restoration. Everything about it, from the customer that we're impacting to the business that you can build, I fell in love with. Acquired a business in Northern Virginia in October of 2020. We started talking to the brand in October of 2022. We made the acquisition in February of 2023. And really where Voda gets its roots is our founder. His name is Dragan Kristić. He's an incredible leader, true American dream. He moved here from Serbia in 2004, didn't speak any English, was a lifeguard, then a security guard, started cleaning carpets, watching YouTube videos, figuring it out. And in 2009, until we met, he built an incredible restoration business. And then we were able to then take that business, create systems around it, and scale to what Voda is now today.
That's amazing. Okay, really quick before we jump over to John for his intro, I'm curious out of your journey, what job you had that benefited you the most in the restoration space?
I think really everything is accumulation. You learn from each thing you do and you see patterns. But I think what I've realized is the lead generation and learning how to build sales teams and understanding that, quite frankly, every sale is the same. There's nuances to it. I think that's probably been the most important, which I take pride in with John and I now educating our franchise owners and any restoration business owner the importance of if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. And there's a lot you can do to get better at sales, not just the leads that need to get better. A lot of times it's the sales conversations that you're having.
I'm curious if you had a room full of salespeople and asked them to raise their hand, how many people would be willing to sell Kirby vacuums? How many people would actually raise their hand? Because I bet a lot of salespeople would not raise their hand and say, I'm willing to do that door to door, like in the trenches kind of networking. I mean, that's bravo. That's hard. Knocking on doors is hard, I think. Okay.
Yeah,
Go
a
ahead, John.
special breed of salesmanship. To
Yes. Salesmanship and a serial entrepreneur, that's for sure. Okay, John, I'm going to toss it to you. I'm probably a familiar face for people, but go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background.
John Ortega, been in the industry 25 years. Started out for the most part right after high school. Joined a phenomenal team at Puro Clean. Everyone's very familiar with them. Did 22 years with the brand. Uh, Fell in love with the industry, fell in love with just the technology, the franchise model, the franchisor support opportunities, and just kind of just kept growing in the space. I played many roles in the 20 plus years at Puro to get me to where I am today. And one of the things that brought me to Voda was just kind of watching the growth of what's been happening the last 2 years. And it made me think back to when I started in the industry, how we were leading with compassion. We were leading with many efforts that were a little bit different than the traditional opportunities. So it kind of gravitated me to Voda. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm consulting now, and I was doing some consulting prior to joining the team, and had a just long discussion with my wife, who's also from the industry. And she's like, you know what? You represented a brand for so long. You know a lot. This is something that you are passionate about. Get back in the trenches. And I did. I reached out, and I was given an opportunity to join this awesome team, leadership by Dan and Zach, and just kind of came in as a new face to Voda, but not to the industry, but to kind of bring, some of that old school value. We're big on back to the basics, and we'll discuss a little more on that, on how we're approaching the market. That's kind of making us different, but that attracted me big time. Going back to the basics, seeing this company grow as fast as they have in the last 2 years, and wanting to be part of that momentum again, because I know how exciting it could be, and I also miss giving back to those franchisees from the franchisor perspective of, just a lot of talent up here, a lot of experience, got to share it. Training is paramount, and we're always learning every day.
Yes.
So we're always selling, we're always learning.
Always selling, always learning. I'm curious how many of your, well, okay, this is a multi-layered question, I suppose. So Dan, I'll toss this to you. How many franchise locations are you up to now? And maybe how many owners are there? Because there might be owners, I'm guessing, that might have multiple territories, but how many owners are you up to? How many territories? Where are you at now?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for asking. Our owner count is 95 franchise partners within our system. That accounts for about 240 territories. I always focus on owners because owners will naturally expand and grow their territories, and that works itself out as they mature their businesses. But really what we focus on is each individual franchise partner and helping them grow and scale their business, make sure their unit economics are scaling as well. So right now, as of today, 95 franchise owners.
Nice. So what would you attribute to how fast you've grown? Like, when did your first franchise or franchisee join to where you are today?
Yeah, multiple factors to the growth. I think the number one reason, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it really is all about people. When I first wanted to get into this space, I have a deep background in franchising,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily at that time in home services. And so my first decision was to bring on our co-founder, Zach Nolte, who has spent a decade plus, maybe even 11, 12 years in the home services space, prior in manufacturing space, and most importantly in the franchise space of supporting franchise owners in the home services vertical. And then scaling our leadership team around marketing. I'm a big believer you should hire people smarter than you at each thing. I'm fortunate for me, most things people are smarter at than me, so it's easy to do. But bring in great people that are really good at their specific skill, and then there's this mutual respect amongst the leadership team because we're like a pack of the Navy SEALs or a football team. We each bring a unique skill. One role might be playing in the game more, but each role is just as important, and everyone has to rise to the occasion. And then as we scaled, bringing in John, I remember I was following John on social media quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that he had an interest to work with us, I was first humbled and I said, "Is he sure?" And then, we started talking with him. I'm a big believer in you should talk people out of a job or really a role than and as much into it. I knew that John, this isn't just work for him. It's a huge part of his, his calling, right? Is being in this space and making an impact on lives. And so my team spent time with him, and when he decided to take the plunge, that's been a tremendous impact on us because, candidly, I don't have the restoration experience that many of your listeners do for 10, 20, 15 years. But what really our secret sauce is bringing in brilliant people that are each really smart at their specific side of the business.
There's such a joy to hiring people that excel. And because then you watch them do their job and you're like, you are so good at this, so much better than I could ever possibly be at this. So yeah, there's so much joy in that. And then it makes the business grow better and easier. And yeah, for sure. So John, I'm curious, kind of the demographics of the franchisees. Are some of them from restoration and they've converted from maybe an independent or another franchise over? Are a lot of where are they, or are they coming from outside? I'm guessing most of them are outside. Are they coming from specific industries? Do they have service background? Like, talk about the demographics.
The demographics varies. Actually, a bulk of our network has no experience in the industry. They're coming in. We are providing them playbooks. We're providing them that guidance, basically the whole turnkey opportunity of joining a franchise concept.
Mhm.
But we are also coaching a lot of them and providing guidance with regards to the players that they bring on.
Yep.
Dan just mentioned it. We want to surround ourselves with the right people that can take that initiative. So we do have a large, I don't want to say too large, but a good percentage of our owners that are executive model. And what I mean by executive model is some of them are still potentially holding a W-2 job, and they have leadership in play that is running their operation on the day-to-day, which allows them, quarterly meets, monthly meets, whatever it is, to keep their finger on the pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Have a couple of grinders where we've got people who said, all right, I'm all in.
Yep.
I know I was going to come in on this executive mindset, which was great, but you know what? The passion that I want to give back, also our model is, and we'll talk deeper into that, is being the mayor of the community. And in order for a business owner to be the mayor of the community, he or she has to be involved in the business. Don't get me wrong. We appreciate the executive model, the owner operator, but a real true executive model is someone who's helping foster and grow that business from afar or from the day-to-day marketing. So yeah, wide range, but a bulk of our guys come in, not knowing the industry. Feed me, Voda, feed me, and we provide guidance. We have a really, really robust onboarding process, to kind of get people to understand the industry. And of course, with any franchise, you're awarded a Voda. You're not buying into Voda.
Right.
So you're definitely awarded it. So you have to meet the criteria, meet that environment that we want to bring in, and also the willingness to learn the industry.
Yes.
Don't get in this. This isn't a hobby. Not a
It's
hobby.
not a hobby.
Is
Don't do
full.
this if you want a hobby.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so long answer to a simple question, but it varies. But and then we maybe five guys in the entire network may have had a service type background. Most of the guys I've spoken to that I've worked with, medical background, sales. I think we have an ex NFL player who very non-service related, but doing great. These guys and ladies are doing phenomenal in our network.
So this question can be for either of you. So maybe Dan, if you want to tackle it first, because this kind of talks about marketing. Where are your franchisees coming from? How are people finding out about you? Like where? Yeah, that is my question. Where are they coming from?
Sure. Well, I really like to think of Voda. If you can picture like a square with four dots and then something in the middle. The middle is Dragon, the founder of Voda, the heart of the business. He's built something incredible, and he's super involved in the training and sharing the story of what we do. And then you've got Zach, who's the operational piece that makes all the trains run on time and get to the right station.
Mm-hmm.
Our CMO Christian, who has the marketing background to help make the phones ring. Obviously, that's to a degree. You got to go out there and network. But from the PPC and LSA and everything else, we have our CMO is extremely talented in marketing. You have John in the restoration expertise and cleaning. And then if you put me on a dot, my background is a deep expertise in franchise development. And so I had the relationships within the kind of networks of people that are educating prospective franchise owners on franchise ownership. And given those relationships, have been able to, many of them bring prospective franchise owners in, especially in our beginning. And then as the business has expanded, there's times where our trucks have a very unique look, and there's a homeowner that has an experience, and they say, just like if you walked into an interesting restaurant, like, is this a franchise? I'm interested. So there's an organic engine. And then, of course, the internet, Google, and other types of marketing efforts. And now what's exciting in the horizon that I know John and I are extremely fired up about is we've crossed into kind of over a chasm into a world of conversions where there are people out there that love their business, but maybe they want to have more support with marketing or branding or sales training or whatever it may be. And they can participate in our network and in our system. And they recognize that, yes, they would have a royalty, right? In franchise, you have a royalty, a support fee. But when they look at the economics of it, that fee is worth it for how they can expand their business. And so really it's come from referrals and, franchise consultants in the community, internet marketing, and then now this new kind of add to the spear, which is conversion opportunities.
Like it. Yeah, the industry is an interesting place to be right now. And I think a lot of restorers are kind of looking for, I don't know, is this the new normal? I think it's just a little bit different now. So that doesn't surprise me. Okay, so leaning into that a little bit, what are some of the kind of big trends that you both are seeing that your franchisees are seeing that might be kind of affecting the industry or affecting their ability to do business? In a way, something that you're able to on the franchisor side kind of lean into and help them through. John, you want to tackle that one first?
Sure. Well, you kind of made reference to it earlier. Claims, claims are not being put in as much as they used to be. So it's navigating those opportunities where, in the restoration space, of course.
Yes.
Where it's like, all right, if a lot of these potential clients are no longer submitting claims, that means, there's going to be less opportunities through the insurance. And when those opportunities do come, how are we going to land them if they don't want to file a claim? So so that's been one of them. And that's been going on, call it past couple years now, probably past 5 or 6 years where the decline has started to happen. I'm in Florida, so there's always an insurance war going on here. Who's staying, who's leaving, who doesn't want, no one ever anticipates storms that come through and just decimate us. But they happen. That and also, another thing too is a lot of people doing the work themselves, with AI technology now, and it's like you have to compete with the internet, to provide services and or to solve an odor issue or an inquiry to microbial growth in the home. It's like, all right, people are referring back to Google. So it's like now we're having to educate our team and our network. All right, you're always going to have someone who's looking online, so here are some of the ways that we can tactfully, rebuttal those obstacles. Um, so yeah, and like every other, restorer out there, is a big hurdle is finding quality talent. With so much competition out there, and a lot of the standardized, retail type jobs now offering really good money to just stand around in the air conditioning, it becomes a little bit hard to, find quality people that still appreciate giving back, because that's what this industry is all about, giving
Yes.
back. When you're cleaning someone else's, property and or restoring or what have you, you're giving back. There's that giving back, and if that's not, that's hard to, you can't teach someone to give back. It's got to be in
No.
them.
Yeah, you cannot. That's true. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what John said, I think there's a few things from a business supports perspective. So obviously a lot going on with insurance and the industry in general, but what we can control within our system is, first off, branding. So we've created a brand. If you see the truck behind John there, it stands out in the minds and hearts of consumers, not just of today, but the future generation that is becoming homeowners and renters. We've equipped our trucks in a way that allows us to have really strong retention with teammates. We have our truck mount that allows them to be able to go into a home to do a water extraction. And a lot of times right through, I call it a non-invasive water extraction because they can go in with the hose. Of course, sometimes they have to use a portable, but often they can do things like that. On the Google and advertising front, our deep expertise in local service ads, Google guaranteed, getting everyone through the background checks, and Google suspends you and turns you on and off, and navigating all of that so that our owners can focus on their business, not on tinkering with Google. And then I think some of the really interesting developments as we scale is, some of the programs we have. So for example, as I said in the beginning, sales is everything. We have programs for franchise owners who decide they want to opt in. Some don't want to, and I understand why, but we have programs that can actually coach them on their sales encounters. It can listen and provide feedback using AI on how they can, present better. When we are going into the home, our franchise owners are armed with tools such as our consumer financing program, where they may walk into a microbial issue that the homeowner just wasn't willing and able, the economy the way it is, to stroke a check for $3,000. And through us, we have third-party financing options where that homeowner can utilize it for 24 months and very little money down. And these are things that anyone in restoration can do, but I think it's really helpful when that's taken off of your plate and you can just focus on your business and not the things that, I don't know about you, but I don't want to go talk to a bank about consumer financing and deal with all that. I want to focus on my business. So a lot of those, not really dealing with the external changes in the landscape, but just the things we can control are in the business support systems that we provide.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. So John, you referenced earlier the back to basics idea in Voda. So talk a little bit about what you mean with that.
Back to the basics. I'm a heavy restorer guy, but I do recall when I started in this industry, cleaning was paramount. If you didn't clean something, there was no purpose in trying to restore. You gotta get there somehow.
That's right.
And over the years, and I'm guilty of it too. When I owned my business, you leave cleaning behind once you start chasing the restoration ticket. And you get on this resto train of, all right, I'm going to chase every storm. I have all these insurance opportunities, all these water jobs, fire jobs. It's great. And then all of a sudden, you lose focus on, all right, well, employee retention, because when there's no water or resto jobs coming in, now you got guys sitting around. Now you're just spending money, and you're the as I call it, the reactive restorer, just waiting for something to happen, So seeing that, it's like, all right, look at Voda. They are leading with cleaning. So we're a cleaning and restoration company. There's been articles, I believe you guys wrote an article a couple years back, where the industry has changed, the 180, where in order to land good opportunities, retail contracts or contracts in general with multifamily homes or property management, you got to come in with something that adds value, high value, and that cleaning space does add high value to any client.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but that's what we're focusing on. And by the way, yes, we offer restoration. So it's like, all right, we are leading with cleaning, which got me so excited because you know what? This is where this entire industry started from. Yes, we all started with carpet cleaning, and
Yep.
that got us to where we're at today. The IICRC started as an upholstery and carpet
Mm-hmm.
cleaning organization
Yep.
to where it's at today. So it's like, all right. So that back to the basics concept, which I'm sure it's used in other industries, excuse me, other companies and stuff. But here at Voda, it's like, all right, we're leading with that, and we're having so much success to the point where, not to brag and boast, we're landing and capturing opportunities from our competitors because we're able to clean and we're able to leverage the cleaning space. We're not going in there when, hey, fire, flood, brimstone, I'm your guy. It's more like, hey, I love this place and keep it up and running. I'm the guy you want to have doing that day-to-day cleaning, So different mindset. That, and also, again, back to the labor. If you want to keep employees, I need reoccurring opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Reoccurring opportunity is if we're doing some really good cleaning campaigns,
Yes.
and then leveraging that with all the opportunities in Resto. So that's it in a nutshell, and we're focused on that. And again, I come with the big restoration background, but I do know cleaning. I know how it's important. And we got a really good team of success coaches here that also understand that we're leading with that momentum, and that is the momentum that our owners are leveraging in the local space. That's a good mayor when he can provide a cleanliness type opportunity versus, hey, I come only when the disaster happens. So
Yes.
I think that's one of our biggest things. And then that's what I meant by, we are back to the basics. And it's, fundamentals like that made our founder very successful. If I understand correctly, based on, just understanding him and learning about him, he ran a successful cleaning business before, most recently in the last 5 years, jumping into the restoration game. So it's like, okay, there's still a good business there in the cleaning and home services opportunity.
There is. And Dan, you have more to add to that? Go ahead.
John's exactly right. First of all, back to basics, like our CRM sends a on their way notification, like Uber, with the picture of the driver, and being there on time and calling 20 minutes prior. We educate our owners on the small things, like if I go to John's house and I call and I say, hey John, I'm on the way, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Hey, I'm gonna stop at Starbucks, you need anything? Most times the homeowner is going to say no. Sometimes they're going to say yes. Is that $4 coffee not worth it to provide an incredible experience and get a 5-star review? We have programs to ensure that we're getting the proper 5-star reviews. For example, people don't realize this, but local service ads, there's a different link you can use with the homeowner that gets you better credit with the local service kind of Google algorithm, getting photos on the job site, all these little things that are not little. They add up in a recipe to a great meal, or baking a cake, right? You miss one thing and you lose it. But if you do everything properly, you have an amazing cake and people tell their friends about it. It's the same thing with how we show up to the home. And on the cleaning side, give you an example. When we got involved with Voda before we got involved, the business was, 38% of the revenue was restoration. The rest of it was cleaning. And the business had always been profitable, or for most years, by just scaling that cleaning and slowly growing restoration. Then we were able to take that business to a 50-50 restoration cleaning split and dramatically increase our revenues and profits. Give you an example. This year, we're going to do, last year, excuse me, we had, a 23% profit, 22% profit margin. And that's after royalties, right? So that's a 30%, margin net, not gross margin, net margin on a, $2.7 million business. And in franchising, I can't talk about the numbers that we're doing this year due to FTC regulations, but, we've been intentional. A lot of owners, they get focused on top line, and top line is vanity. Bottom line is sanity, right? As Tommy Mello says in
100%.
home services. So it's like, and it's ego, right? A lot of times I've been in business and I wanted to grow a big business. And then at the end of the year, my accountant was like, you didn't make any money, Dan. And it was like, what was the point of all that? And instead we get our owners focused on you act small and you think big. You think big and you act small, and you do that day in and day out. Can I increase my average ticket by 20%? Can I do one more job a day? These small things that end up over time compounding into, a bigger business. And I'll just share one more thing because I learned it recently and I think it's really interesting. If you had to take a guess, if you got 1%, John, you might know, so don't answer, but if you got 1% better every day at anything, how much better would you be in 3 months? Any guess?
In 3 months, I don't know. I
So
have
if you
no
get
guess.
better 1% every day consistently for 3 months, you'll be 2.5 times better than you were before. And if you do 6 months, it's 6 times better. And if you do it over a year, it starts to multiply into like 40 times better. And it doesn't mean doing everything today. It means doing small things day by day. And I think we really hone in our franchise owners on that important decision.
I love that. There was something I was going to touch on in all of that conversation. And now I don't even know what it was because there was so much we talked about. Okay, I know what it was. It was talking, I love this back to the basics conversation. It is funny that the industry has almost come full circle. The last few years, there's been such this push for we want commercial, 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 commercial. And a lot of even restorers leaving the residential space, pushing for commercial, which has left opportunity on the residential side open. And then just a few weeks ago, we published an article by Jeff Moore about adding carpet cleaning services to your business. And I had an old time restorer text me and be like, this is the most ironic thing that I've ever seen published in the industry. I think recommending that you add carpet cleaning services to your restoration company. But a lot of restorers don't think that. If they've come in and they've started a restoration business in the last decade, maybe last 15 years, it didn't start foundationally with cleaning. It started as restoration and reconstruction. So that is, I love that point. So, okay, talk a little bit about the concept of being the mayor, training or helping your owners learn to be the mayor. John, you want to take that one first or Dan? John?
I'll let Dan start because
Okay.
this
Yeah.
is very passionate about it, and I'll add anything at the end.
Okay. Go for it.
Well, John embodies it, right? Being the mayor of the town is our saying is you need to be the mayor of the town. John is out there. He's the mayor of restoration, right? He's at all the events. He's shaking hands and kissing babies. He's posting on social media, and that lends to his reputation that he's being able to build within his side of the business. It's the same thing in a home service business, whether it's restoration or roofing. I remember growing up playing baseball as a kid, and the back of our jerseys were Anthony's Contracting, and he was out there coaching the game and also handing out orange slices. And we would go get pizza, and his wife was there, shaking hands with everyone. And guess what? Where did my family get their contracting services done? The person that was the mayor of the town, building a relationship. And so, to us, that is the key to the business, is being that mayor of the town, of course, with deep expertise. Something I want to point out, especially for listeners that are thinking, these are younger franchise owners. We bring in executives that are very smart. We teach them the playbook. We have over 5,000 five-star reviews across the country. And so I do believe we've really bottled up our kind of way of doing things and then teaching our owners. So, of course, you have to do great restoration work. Not going to discount that. But so much of it is getting out there, getting into those commercial properties, and to really kind of boast on the cleaning. I can't tell you how many times, Michelle, that we go and we get a cleaning opportunity for a Planet Fitness. And the next thing you know, we're cleaning 5 Planet Fitness's floors once a month or a quarter. And guess what? Who do you think they call when they have a water event? And next thing you know, we're on a strip mall opportunity because that property manager actually knew an owner with even more properties. And so the cleaning is an incredible way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Okay. John, anything you want to add to the mayor topic?
No, I think, again, you want to build a local home services company / disaster restoration company. You got to know people. You have, and I tell our owners, just jokingly, just being, because again, in Florida, it's the Wild West. So leveraging and marketing and doing all that stuff, it's the Wild West out here. But I tell them the phrase, you got to keep your face in the place. If you're there and you're leveraging and you're meeting and you're engaging, in those networking groups, in those local community groups, that's what it's all about, to synergize that around you and then grow out. Grow your business outward. You start from where you're centered, and that whole philosophy of being the mayor. I mean, jokingly, yeah, I love this industry. I do brag and boast. I love to post about it. I love the technology, and that's what gravitates. That's what makes me happy. for our owners, it's the same thing, that same passion. This is your business. You're giving back to the community. Why wouldn't you want to be billboard and showcased and everyone know your name, you know? And it's an empowering thing. You're a business owner giving back, you know. Why wouldn't you want to just everyone know who you are?
Yeah.
You know, so and 99.999% of our network embodies that. That 0.5%, they're so brand new, they haven't even turned the gates on yet.
Haven't turned the gates on yet. Okay, I have like two more questions. One is kind of subjective, and you might have already answered it in the podcast so far, but I'm curious what one thing you would both say sets Voda apart from the many other franchise opportunities that lie in the restoration space. So Dan, I'll toss this to you first. Like one thing that you believe really sets it apart from the other opportunities out there.
And just for clarity, for the lens of someone thinking of buying a franchise
Yes.
in restoration,
Yes.
1000% culture.
Mm.
You know, Voda is owned by myself, and some of our leadership team have a stake in the company. It will not change hands in any time in the future, near future, or perhaps ever. We plan to build the largest privately held. There's a lot of huge players out there, and those are great companies. I have a lot of respect for them. I'm getting the opportunity to meet many of the CEOs. I've actually known some of them for a while because of my franchise career. It's a huge industry. There's plenty of opportunity for us. But I think that if someone wants to be part of a culture where they really are hyper connected to all of the other owners, to our leadership team, to our corporate team, home office team, I see Teams, Microsoft Teams messages flinging with the entire system on them at 10 o'clock at night and Saturday in the morning. I was at an event the other day at 10 p.m. Someone asked me if we could help them, and our success coach was helping line up the job with our franchise owner, ready to go out there at 11 p.m. And, you know, it's not just buy a franchise, we'll train you for a week or two and then see you at the next conference, make sure you pay us your royalties. It's, hey, we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. You have a dedicated success coach. Here's all of these incredible resources, because we understand that we're only going to be successful if our franchise owners are successful. And the best way to do that is to drive. And I'm sorry, I'm going to give you one more example.
Okay.
A lot of franchisors, they'll say, you know, an owner is not getting LSA, local service ads. And then they'll look into it and they'll say, well, it's because they turned off something, they did something. It's the franchise owner's fault. Well, our perspective is, first of all, you should look in the mirror. It's always two sides to why something broke in the system.
Yep.
And then the second thing is more important is, who cares whose fault it is? We're all losing money in the sense of top line and eventually bottom line by not getting those jobs. So we take an effort, kind of concerted effort, to really be kind of shoulder to shoulder with each of our franchise partners to try to really make sure that those things are moving smoothly. We obviously can only do so much. It's still their own independent business. They have to be accountable to the outcomes, but we're there from a culture perspective. And I think that's the one word would be culture.
I like it. Okay, John, what would your answer be?
You took it right out of my mouth. That culture is very different and unique. And again, being part of a brand for 20 plus years, phenomenal culture, there. But here to see every owner participate in the 3 cadence calls throughout the week. Every owner engaging on helping grow the network, every owner playing mentor, basically. So it's a very different culture here. And when you join a franchise concept, that's what you want. You want to join an organization or a network that fosters the same values you have and things like that. And I will say that the mission and values that Voda did line up with mine, both personally and professionally. That's why I joined. I was in, definitely, once I met the team, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Synergy of the network. So definitely has got to ride that. Culture is a big thing here at Voda. And again, you're awarded a Voda. You're not, you don't buy into this. You're awarded it. So you gotta respect that. And yes, we have great technology and all the cool nuances and stuff like that. But culture is big. Culture is what builds a great organization.
Perfect. Okay, before we wrap it up, I love to ask people to tell stories. So, a favorite story from a franchisee, maybe helping somebody in their community or an interesting loss. I don't know. I've heard spiders and crawl spaces and rowboats and sewage-filled barges, and I've heard all the different kinds of stories that there are out there. So, I don't know, a favorite story from a franchisee so far. I don't know who wants to take that first.
All right, I got one. So we just had a gentleman actually graduate our last training class, which in that was in June. Gentleman got back home, and his first loss was a water damage that had occurred about a week ago. The client had just gotten home, and long and behold, to himself, just being new, he goes in and basically he's got a crawl space with about 2 feet of water in it on top of two-story home. So he's got 3 layers to deal with.
Oh,
He got home Friday and got that job the following morning on a Saturday. And unbeknownst to him, he didn't know he knew what he knew. Um, wound up, equipment delivered. He had his vehicle. He went in there all Saturday, basically throughout the weekend for his first job, landed a job that was literally about $30,000. He just got home. And the cool thing is, with our network is them being so new to land an opportunity like that using some of the lead generators that we provide them with. So it wasn't, he didn't even have to go out and market or leverage.
yep.
We have that turnkey opportunity in the digital space where he literally activated that he was turning on because he landed at 9 p.m. Friday night and he was going to be open Saturday and literally landed an opportunity.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
and it gave him that sense of, dude, I am so stoked that I brought into this that. And also, as soon as he landed it, he's like, guys, I got this opportunity. Myself, the other success coaches were like, all right, dude, let's FaceTime through it. Let's walk through it. Send us your file. And we helped them through that whole first project. Again, goes back to culture, goes back to, man, exciting opportunities in the space. And then, of course, the caveat, after he was done, now he's cleaning everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this phenomenal cleaning opportunity. So it kind of just, it's good to see and hear stories like that of a brand new owner. And then, of course, the successful ones, like kind of how Dan mentioned earlier, with the guys landing the gyms, opportunities, multiple opportunities. So definitely for us being 2 years in the space, the momentum that we are moving forward with, awesome. So
Yeah.
that's my
Great.
good story.
Okay, Dan,
Yeah.
you have a story?
Great. Yeah, similar story. I'm going to tell one quick one and then the main one. In the fall, when we had those 2 hurricanes in Florida back to back, I remember just our team over that weekend just huddling together and working through it, and franchise owners actually just coming into this community together and working hand in hand and not thinking about my territory versus yours, just working as a cohesive unit. And I remember just that weekend being locked in a room in the war room while we worked through that and being able to serve during that time of need. But a story similar to John's was at a training a few months back. We had a franchise partner out of Sarasota, Nina Hunter. She was at training. We finished on Friday. There was substantial water issues in Sarasota. That night, a friend of mine that lives in a pretty wealthy community said, I need your help. And the next morning, she was the first person on the bridge. I remember him saying, when is she coming? When is she coming? I said, she can't swim across. So the second the bridge opens, she's going to go. And, for safety reasons too. But the second they opened the bridge, she was there. She parked the Voda truck, serviced the home, did a great job. But while there, the branding of the truck, and also, I'm a big believer, if someone opens a door for you, then you walk through it. So I opened a door for her in the sense of that first job. She walked through it and absolutely crushed it because people saw the truck. She went to the door, the neighbors, and shook hands and ended up getting 6 more water loss opportunities right in that community with very large homes from that first day on the job. Now, do I wish every day was like that for every owner?
Yeah.
I do. It's not, but it was definitely a cool thing to see someone go from training on a Friday, graduation, and then Saturday right there in the trenches making it happen.
That is amazing and bold moves by both the franchisees that you were talking about. That was like baptism by fire. Get in there. You got this.
Yeah.
We trained you. Go. I love that. Great stories. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the conversation. It went really fast. We talked for even longer than we planned. So thank you so much. This was great. Congrats on your success, and I look forward to crossing paths with both of you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle.
For more restoration today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.